Hey everybody, what's going on? Dace here. Today we're covering my 1cc guide for Batsugun original version using Beltiana. The route I formulated for my own runs while playing the game had a heavy focus on no missing and minimal bomb use, even at the cost of higher risk sections where I could easily afford myself a bomb or two without suffering later consequences, but chose not to. Something else I'd like to touch on is that I only use the normal shot and not the 15, 20, or 30/S attack button. If you only use the normal shot like I did, the game will be more challenging and require more in-depth learning, especially with an emphasis on no missing and minimal resource usage. This is because your damage output is significantly lower, you're not destroying enemies as quickly, and you're in boss battles for longer, to name a few reasons. If you want a summary of how I formulated the route for each stage, check the description or pinned comment, as I'll include those details for those interested. So with all that out of the way, let's jump into the first stage. So in stage 1, there's nothing crazy that you're going to be going up against. It's all pretty straightforward. I'm not going to do anything major in terms of guiding you through everything that I do. You can kind of just watch along and get a feel for things on your own too. Stage 1 is a great opportunity to get used to how quickly you can take things out, especially enemies that have not yet shown up. So sometimes in different stages, you'll see me positioning myself where there are no enemies in sight, and yet that's where I'm firing. And it's because, let's say there's a big turret that takes a while to destroy, and you want to get that damage going on it sooner than later before it even shows up. Or just like Zako, about to fly in and that kind of stuff. So that's something you can definitely take full advantage of in this game. So in terms of yeah, I suppose I can even just start talking about the boss. Again, it's a straightforward boss due to the nature of it does a lot of spread attacks, and so that can sometimes trip you up if you're not sure what's happening at first. But for the most part, I'll just kind of show you. This is where I line up before going into the fight, and then I go from this position all the way to the left, taking out the side gear. And then it's just tap stuff. It's pretty easy. Tap, tap, tap. Just over. And then back to the other side. And then just into the middle. And then I just keep as much damage on the central part as possible. And then just sway to the side to miss that. And then boom, you're done already. And it's okay if it doesn't go that cleanly. It's just however it's going to go. Alright, so stage 2 is a lot of fun. I start here, I move over like that, and then get that guy back to get some of those dudes, and then I take out that big raft thing or hovercraft or whatever, and then you sway back and forth for those 2 waves of blue guys. And then you wait here. There were 3 of those guys on the other side, but I took them out so fast in case you didn't see that. And then I just grab that. Again, this is pretty wide open stuff in terms of how you approach it. There's a lot of flexibility. But I do it the same way every single time. And then when I hear that explosion, I start moving it over like that, and then take out that one. And then just back and forth for those 2 rows of enemies. So I grab that bomb, and then I line up right about there. And we're going to enter in slow motion now. So you destroy the turret right there, and then you start going here. Dodge 1, 2, up, get this turret, take that out, and then just get as much damage on the central turrets as possible while avoiding everything else. And of course, 4 of those fireballs are going to come out, so just avoid those, but then get right back to the center as safely as possible. So for this is slow motion again. You're going to go to the corner, just start inching your way over like this, and then up, drop down, and start moving over. That creates a bit of a gap for you. Inching over, up, down, and through there. Same thing. So if you're using the 1 bomb method, that is the time to use it. And then you just do the same thing that you were doing, just inching over and then sway up into the corner, like into the side area, down into the corner, and boom. I'll show you the no bomb method that I put together. Actually, the first night I ever started playing this game, I pieced that together. It was like really, like I was very inexperienced with the game, so it was risky stuff. So I didn't like rely on that for actual runs, but this is how you would go about it. So you started off as normal. And then here we are slowing down. So you can choose a side, it doesn't matter which one. I always go up this one. Just like this, wait for like the bursts from the little blue guys, and then drop down again. And because you're not bombing, you don't have as much damage on him, so he will do another dip like this. If you're using normal shot too, especially, like you're doing less damage. But before long, he'll just be toast. Okay, so stage 3 is where things really ramp up in the difficulty, but it's a blast of a stage. So one wave of blue, second wave of blue, there's that middle truck, just get rid of that, and then deal with all the other dudes. There's a medium-sized ship I just blew up, and a second one there, and a third one right there. I'm taking them out quickly because they fire a second attack if you're not dealing with them fast enough. So right around here, this is where you want to start prioritizing taking out the turrets on both sides. So right here, you'll notice like streams of shots. You're not going to want to sway all the way from side to side and get trapped on the outside of those lines, because then you have next to no space to use. So that's why you see me right there staying on the inside of it. For the most part, deal with that central thing as quickly as possible. And after that first explosion, it's going to do a single burst like this. Well, it's going to keep doing it, but I mean, you can have it destroyed by then. But all you need to do is avoid that one targeted shot, because that's all it's doing. The rest is just like spreading out away from you. But it will, of course, keep firing if you haven't killed it fast enough. So yeah, if you're going to bomb for that whole thing, one bomb should take out the whole thing if it's a struggle part for you. So here we have 2 hench. I just drop down an inch over, and then I wait for that shot to vanish, and then I cross over, and then the same thing, I actually go before it crosses. That's the timing for that one. And then you just kind of like inch over. He's going to do another burst, so you got to move. And then boom, he's gone. And then you have a bunch of blue dudes that are showing up. The kind that like have the angled shots, and they come swooping in all these like strange configurations and whatnot. So yeah, sometimes like you might take a silly hit from ships like that, and it's whatever. So for here, I start right there, and I lure those away, line up again, get right up there. When you see the things opening, get back like that. And then you can just hang down near the bottom and fire. There isn't too much you really got to deal with. It will look and feel crazy the first handful of times you're here, but as soon as that first thing is broken or destroyed, get rid of those other 2 things right up there. And then just avoid that, and then get right onto this right-sided one. And same thing, get rid of those other 2 things after the first thing blows up. And then when it starts doing this spread shot like that, you can just do like a tap. Tap. Doesn't really matter what direction. Tap. And you just keep doing that until it explodes, and then we're into the next phase. Now, if you need to bomb during the next part, just go for it. 1 or 2 bombs is totally fine. Like, don't worry about that. But this is how I do it when I'm not bombing. So I deal with that guy, just get right over, and just get right over again. Now, if you've done the timing and the positioning correctly, like I do here, you will not need to deal with another of those like things that shoot the purple shots. You might have some close calls, but yeah, as you can see, I only took out like the first set of them, and that was that. Stage 4 is another really wild time. There are all sorts of dangers, but anyway, let's get right into what we do. I just hang out right here until the shots start firing, then I tap down and over, clear those guys, and then you're gonna have this dude show up. So you gotta always make sure you don't get clipped by the green, since it does trail quite a bit. And then you have a round of these guys swinging in, so the same thing, just down and over, then clear the guys. And then you're gonna have another round of these ships while those dudes are coming in, and then you have one guy show up right there, and then one right there, and then these orangish yellow guys or whatever, and then 2, 2, 2, 2. And then those guys shoot a big laser all the way down, not like you see it happening here, but then you want to get right here. And I've slowed this down, swing over to lure the angled shot like that, go back, clear all that stuff, and then just get right on that central section. And then you got a few dudes swinging in. There's a very short window of time to like just clean up, and then you want to be right here. Now what I'm doing in the game is listening for the explosion of the turret on this side, or whatever it is. And then as soon as I hear that explosion, I get it right over to be on this side of the shot, and then I start tapping over. Same sort of idea with the last one we did. And then of course, stay on that center section just to take it out very quickly. And if you got a bomb through these guys, that's fine too, but that's just the method I use every time. And so for this part, it's kind of just like a back and forth, up, down, back, forth, up, down, like that kind of stuff. Just one side to the next. And then these guys, give yourself a fair chunk of space on the sides to just move over from one direction to the other, or one side to the other, I mean. Because they sometimes can take quite a while to go down. So when you get to about here, you got a really nasty beast to take care of. So anyway, this is how I do it. I tap over. I'm mainly paying attention to staying on one side of like the line shots, like those ones, and then you go back up this way. I look at when those things open and start firing the circle shots. Up, up, up. And then you can get a little extra damage by just like going over close, and you don't have to do that. And then one more time up like this. Now I time this very carefully, because if the line shots, if you're up too high, a line shot, like those things can go right straight across and just nail you, so you got to be really careful for that. But then we're done the first phase. So he opens with this, just like over and up. Don't get clipped by the things, especially with that one. That can be so deadly, it's not even funny. And then over, up. And if you got a bomb here, just to ensure you don't lose like 6 bombs or whatever you're sitting on, that's fine too. But that's how you go about it without bombing. But it's probably one of the riskiest things in terms of just like getting clipped. It's yeah, it's a crazy time. So then you just have a few enemies here, and then you're gonna have like these big guys. So there starts one on the left, and then one on the right, one on the left. I'm going up and then backing down to avoid the tiny shots. And then this part right here is just back and forth. There are a handful of medium-sized ships in the middle, and then tiny guys on the sides. And then when you get to about here, you got a really nasty section, but this is more or less how you do it. Just simple tapping. If like it is a messy time, so if you need to bomb through all 6 of those guys, just do it. And this is another very difficult part. So here we just go like this, over, cross again, and then just you're kind of putting yourself in a very, very dangerous position. But this is what I mean when I say like at the start, like it's high risk, because you're not using bombs, or that's the aim, to use as few as possible. So yeah, just stay in the middle. Do not get clipped by the wings as those ships come up, but cross over, cross again to stay on this side of those shots, like in that tiny space, and then just work with that small area you have. It's really risky. I wanted to put together something that was just going to take them down as quickly as possible without like all this flying around and stuff. And so that's why it's just, yeah, very, very dangerous. But it does the job. But yeah, never hesitate to bomb there too. Like, that's just whatever. Like, if you need to, you need to. And here we are at the boss. The first time you get to this boss, or whatever, it's probably going to just feel like absolute chaos, but there are some simple things we can put into motion. So I start right here, just start laying on the damage. I wait for 1, 2 green shots, get right over here to get rid of that other gun thing, turret, and then get right over, tap, tap, to avoid that. You don't have to, if you're positioned correctly, you don't need to move for that. And then right when you see those start to fire, I get right over here, position yourself right there, and just start destroying as much as possible. And you're waiting for that attack from the left to get back over again, and stay on top of that. And so it's kind of like a mix between listening for the explosions on each side, like as you're taking them out, learning a balance of when it's safe to cross, what you need to do to just keep it so that nothing, not so much as crossing over from both sides, because you're staying on top of at least one side and then crossing over, and then that way you're only dealing with like an attack coming straight down at you. So you might have just like 1 or 2 instances like that where just a single shot is coming down, and that's the only thing you really need to be concerned about. Okay, so I count 1, 2 yellow, and then you go up like that, stop, go, up, stop, stop, go, stop, go. And it's just a counting game at this point, like right now. The only thing I'm paying attention to are the yellow shots. As long as I have that timing down with my position, then we're good. So you just keep repeating that same thing. It's a pretty wild part. If you need to bomb through here, just go for it, because yeah, it doesn't matter. And then you just keep going. You don't need to be tempted by the bomb. You'll have plenty of time to pick that stuff up after, and boom, you're done. So this is just like back and forth to avoid those. I like playing it a little more risky and just doing a lot of damage, so that's why I'm not just hanging out at the side, but before long you'll have a gap in the middle. You don't even have to blow up all those things. I just do it because. And then I line up right about there. You do have a tiny bit of wiggle room, but not much in terms of like what line you're lined up with. But then once you're in that spot, I get nice and close like this, and then of course you got to be backing up constantly because it does scroll for quite a while. And then after that first beam blast, I just drop down to the bottom, because if you take out the center part too quickly, that can pose some issues. But when you get to about here, you can bomb. It's a pretty crazy section, but before long you'll have it. So like 2 bombs is pretty decent for that entire boss fight. If you end up using a third one, don't worry about it. That's just sometimes how it goes. Stage 5 begins with some tanks rolling out and whatnot, so just stay on top of that. It's nothing too crazy. And then you're going to want to get right about there, and it's just a simple tap over within the space that you have. And then this is a nasty attack, but same idea. Tap, 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 and you've cleared it. Okay, so then I swing all the way over here. If you're reading the trajectories correctly, you'll recognize when you need to move and when you don't. I don't bother because I know it's not going to hit me. If there are multiple shots like that, then you might want to like move out of the way or something, just to play it safe. But for the most part, you can just stay on one side and then get ready for the second guy. So same exact thing. You just got to get the timing of when you see those green bursts first happen. And then if you're powered up, your weapon is going to be attacking those guys. Of course, I swing over when I see that specific group of enemies start to fire, because it's always the same thing. So for this platform coming up, we have floor turrets on the sides and the front and back middle sections. So clear as much as you can, and then you want to stay on these walking dudes as much as possible, just to get them out of there quickly. That's another section where if you need to bomb, just do it, because it's easy to take a silly hit and lose your resources right there. So then you have these guys who like swoop down again. That can be pretty problematic. And then we have these enemies coming up right here. So you got to watch out for those like curved lines. And when you destroy them, they'll have this burst. And those shots, they kind of like magnetize toward your ship slightly. So sometimes you'll see where it's moving and you'll think like, okay, great, I'm safe. But then it just closes in on you ever so slightly and you get taken out. So you got to really watch for that kind of stuff. And then, of course, just learning when the guys who trail those green shots show up so that you can just avoid that. When you get here, you have just like a small window of nothing happening. Just like very small, because as you can see, we're already back into the action. But it is like a small breathing room type of situation. But yeah, as you can see, like with those explosions from those guys, it can get very chaotic if you're destroying all of them all at once, or like one after another. Yeah, plus everything else the other enemies are doing. So for this part with all the tracks and everything, it's just a matter of working your way back and forth. If you see that you need to make like a really quick adjustment like that, I chose not to continue swaying because I knew like, okay, that's coming right for the spot I would go into. But yeah, this is a pretty simple part. Like I didn't really fumble that too much, maybe once in a while here and there, but it's pretty easy stuff. This is where it's going to get a little more chaotic. You just got to manage all those big ships and everything they're doing, plus the tanks rolling out. And again, just bomb here if you are unsure, like if you're going to make it through safely. And then you'll have those bursts of enemies, and then one on this side as well. And then you have like these tanks rolling in. This is where like you're kind of just staying in the central area, and the only thing I'm paying attention to right now are those tanks, because those are the shots that are really concerning. Everything flying up the sides there was kind of just like a non-issue. And then there are just some floor units. So this section with the red enemies can be tricky. The bomb I use here only serves as a safeguard against losing a life and 7 bombs with it due to how risky the overlapping trajectories can get, especially with the bullet speed when rank is high. If rank is lower, that bomb will not be necessary. But since there was a bomb on screen, I just figured, you know what, it's a free bomb, and then grab the next one. Anyway, here we are at the boss. So here's the 7 bomb method. The moment you see those things open, you bomb, and you are bombing as soon as you possibly can, 3 times, and then a slight delay, and then bomb a 4th time, and that's enough to open up this section here. Bomb, bomb, and bomb again. And you're done. Now, if you were using like the 15, 20, or 30 or whatever, I've seen people do that in 2 bombs less than it takes, so that's how much extra damage you're doing. So here is the version if you're not using that method with bombs. So you go over like this, sway back over this way. Gotta watch out for that one little yellow shot there. But then we go like this, over, over, over. You're kind of just like managing taking out certain things while avoiding other things, because there's a lot to this. And then I usually bomb right around there if I'm gonna use this method. And then bomb again anytime you're not sure. Like, it's a pretty wild time, and there's so many things firing all at once. It's absolute mayhem. And I will show different like when this section comes out, I'll show different variations on like bombing. So like, I think this is using 3 bombs here or something like that, just to clear it. But we'll also go over if you have, let's say, I think 2. If you're going to use, like, let's say you're down to 2 bombs or whatever, you'll see more of how you can manage some of the attack. Or maybe it was, yeah, just 1 or something. And then here is the same thing if you are just going to do no bomb whatsoever, if that's what you're going for this final attack, that is. And I've slowed this down so you can kind of like see what's happening here a little better. there's a lot you got to pay attention to, like falling range shots and like the circular thing, and just like other stuff from the peripherals that are coming at you. But boom, there you go. So yeah, I trust that is yeah, just like a decent chunk of ideas to kind of like experiment with, see what you can come up with if you're like building your own route, for just challenging yourself a little more than just yeah, using bombs every single time, or if you know that you do have to slim things down a little bit, or you're in that situation where you would love to have like 1 or 2 extra bombs just to push through. Maybe some of these things I've shown here can help with that. So anyway, yeah, I really appreciate everybody who stopped by to check this out. Yeah, let me know if there are any sections you're not sure about, or you want yeah, just additional info or a different breakdown or whatever. Let me know. More than happy to help. But yeah, like I said, I trust this has helped, and all the best with your runs. And I had a blast putting this guide together. Batsugun is just one of those games that's really fun to work on as a guide, just tackling each chunk and just like breaking it down with slow motion and things. I really enjoy doing this kind of stuff. So anyway, thanks again. Have a stellar day, and we will see you all next time.